Here with Army West Point coach Kevin Ward. Coach, thanks for taking the time to talk to me today.
Absolutely, Mike. Always good to be with you.
Hey, so we haven't talked too much since the end of last season. You had a pretty good year,
Yeah.
had some nice dual wins, took fourth at the EIWAs, brought a bunch of guys to nationals. What was your assessment at the end of last year's season of the team?
I mean, the end of the season is always, particularly maybe kind of a tough time because the season's over, and it's rare that you have 10 people achieve their individual goals. And
Yeah.
in this sport, you want success for each of your athletes so badly that if they come up a little bit short, man, it always hurts. So you kind of go through that period of what could have been, what did you do wrong? If not all 10 people reached their goals and you didn't do everything exactly right, you kind of feel that way. But, I'd be lying if I said we didn't also feel some positives and feel pretty excited about the group that we had coming back. Here's the thing: when the group that we took, 7 guys to the NCAA tournament, we had one alternate, one second alternate.
Yeah.
So we were really close to having, almost all 10 guys there at our EIWA tournament last year. All 10 of our wrestlers wrestled in a ticket match. They all had one match where if they would have won it, they would have been going.
Right.
So really close to taking 10 to the NCAA championships. And, we didn't, and that's how the sport goes. But when we left Pittsburgh, we felt like, okay, we have a group that's really grown a lot. And we had a few guys that qualified for their first tournament. That experience is so valuable, you can't replicate it anywhere else. So we felt like, and we still do, that we've got a group that really grew a lot last year, strong leadership on the team. So it makes us excited for the season that we have coming up.
Now, you went to Army West Point in 14, right? 2014?
Yeah, I'm starting my 6th season now.
Wow, practically old.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did
I
you
get
have
reminded of that every day, by the way.
did you have a plan when you came in? Like, did you think, all right, by the 5th year we want to have 8 guys at nationals? I mean, what do you take a job like this? Because it's got extra, not baggage, but there's an extra commitment when kids go to Army to wrestle. Like, how did you approach the job?
So I've been really surprised, pleasantly, in that notion, maybe dispelling some of those myths about what is and what isn't possible here. I really believe now, after 5 full seasons, that every year I believe more and more is possible here at West Point and with our wrestling program. The outside perception of there's this other baggage and there's more of a commitment, whatever you want to call it, is certainly true. There's definitely more of a commitment at West Point. But that commitment goes both ways. I mean, it's a commitment to each individual that's here. I tell everybody, we're greedy. Like, we're really greedy here. We want your best on the mat. We want your best in the classroom. And we want the best to develop you from a character standpoint. And so we're going to squeeze every drop out of every individual here at the academy that we can. And if somebody doesn't want to be challenged in all aspects of their life, West Point's probably not the place for them. If they just want to be a good wrestler, this isn't the place. If they just want to be a good student, this isn't the place. What we found is, there's a lot of really, really good wrestlers that want to be challenged in every way.
Yeah.
And so that was eye-opening for me when I got here. I would say some other things. As far as my plan has never revolved around, X number of wins. Our goal is to always win the EIWA tournament. We haven't done it yet. Our goal is to always have 10 All-Americans, and we're still working towards that. But I would say my plan was more about the structure of the program. Let's make sure that we have the right resources in place. Let's make sure we build the right type of competition schedule. Let's make sure we are recruiting the right way. And then, the goals, the competition goals, we have those, but they kind of fall in line after everything else is in place. At least that's the way that I want to build the program, is make sure that success that we have, we can sustain it. It's not a flash in the pan. I'm not interested, to be honest with you, in having a really bad team full of bad kids and have one All-American. That wouldn't feel good to me.
Yeah.
I want a really good team full of really good kids that can produce multiple All-Americans every year, and I really believe we're getting closer to that each season.
Gotcha. I mean, it sounds ambitious in that I don't think Army's ever won the EIWA, at least in my extended lifetime. Uh,
Yeah, in the late '80s, we're EIWA champs.
Oh,
So
no
no kidding.
kidding. All right,
Yeah, no
so
kidding.
I missed that one. Really, late
Yes,
'80s. So you want that was the. Oh, are you there, Coach?
I'm here. I'm
Okay.
sorry, I got another call.
Oh,
Yeah.
um, so you're coming into the season as the second ranked or second seeded, whatever, second
Okay.
in the EIWA. So you're clearly, I mean, since the late '80s, that has not happened. You won the EIWA Coach of the Year award.
Yeah.
How do you keep it from getting, blowing up your ego too much?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's listen. You know what? All you do, you go to work every day, and then you get reminded pretty fast. You know that nobody. You know that there's always work to be done. No, for me, I think it's hey, us being ranked second in the preseason in what is it? It's September.
Yeah,
Nobody's going to care in
yeah,
March what
exactly.
September said, and I'm no fool. I understand the competition that we're up against in this conference. There's been we finished fourth a few times, and the same three teams that beat us, I think. It's not like they're not working hard and they're not recruiting good kids. I totally get it. For me, it's pretty easy for me not to let it get to my head because I'm aware of every other program. There's some really good ones that we're going to have to beat. EIWA Coach of the Year, it means, we had a good team. I have an excellent staff.
Can you point to it on the wall?
That's
it right there.
Somewhere back there. Yeah. Oh, that thing?
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, for me, I don't even give it a thought, to be honest with you.
I got you. Now you
Yeah.
built a really tough schedule coming into the year. I mean, you got Wisconsin. I mean, who looks to be tough. You have
Yeah.
the Invitational where you have at least Penn State, Michigan, Lock Haven.
Yeah.
I don't want to leave anybody out, but that's all I remember.
Right.
Tell me your thoughts behind building that kind of schedule and getting your kids prepared for March.
Well, I make a commitment to each of the guys we're recruiting, when we're recruiting them, that they're going to be able to wrestle the competition schedule that, every kid that we want, part of the program wants. They want to compete in a national schedule. They want to be able to test themselves against the best guys in the country and against the best teams. And when I make them that guarantee, then it's up to me to back it up and build the competition schedule that's going to do it. I say, look, my approach to a team every year, it's about growth and how much can you grow throughout the season. If you're not willing to challenge yourself, if I'm not willing to set that example as a coach, saying, let's really challenge ourselves in a competition schedule, how can I expect my athletes to have that mentality if I'm not willing to do it? So I take that approach, and we had the opportunity to schedule some really cool teams. I knew when we started our tournament 3 years ago, I knew it would grow, and I knew it would attract some really good teams because we need these type of tournaments in the sport.
Yeah.
And I can't stand going to open tournaments, to be honest with you. The coaches start their day at about 4:30 in the morning, and we finish about 8 o'clock at night, and then get on the bus and drive home. It's miserable,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a good experience for the coaches, for the athletes, for the fans. So I've always thought there's a need for small Division I only tournaments that fans can come to without staying 4 nights in a hotel and trying to keep up with 24 mats.
Right.
So for us, I thought build a small quality tournament, and we did. We attracted some really top teams this year, defending national champs, Michigan, who's a perennial top 5, and a host of other really good programs around. But back to your question about the schedule, it's about let's be willing to challenge ourselves in an effort to have our best team in late February and March.
Gotcha. And clearly, I mean, I think that the coaches who are coming or bringing their teams recognize the quality of what you're putting on the mat. I mean, Penn State coming to your tournament, Michigan traveling to your tournament, I think it's a sign of respect that you're putting out men, that want to wrestle hard, and I guess it's another sign that you're going in the right direction when you're attracting top talent to your invitational.
I hope so. I hope that, and to be honest with you, there were some teams this year that said, hey, we can't come to your tournament, it's too tough. Yeah, no kidding. And, for us, I took that as a compliment too. I'm saying, hey, we're attracting, it's going to be the premier tournament in the country that weekend.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to be able to host it. Hopefully, us having on paper at least a pretty strong team, it has something to do with it. We have, several more weeks before we step on the mat and compete. So there's a lot that has yet to be proven. But yeah, I hope so. I hope it's a reflection of what we're building, a reflection of the vision of trying to build a premier event, and hopefully we're able to back it up.
Now, when did you graduate from Oklahoma State? '07?
No, so my last tournament was in 2006, March of 2006.
Okay.
I waited prior to that, but that was my last competition.
So young enough to still, do you still feel can you still feel the competition through the eyes of a wrestler, or are you just completely a coach at this point?
I mean, I hope so. I think there's nothing like stepping out there on the line. And, I fortunately and unfortunately, I don't get to do that anymore. So I try to, that's one thing I talk about as a coach is never forget what it feels like to be out there doing it. I hope I never forget. I'm not living it, I don't feel the exact feeling that I used to when I was stepping out there, the anxiousness, anxiety, the excitement.
Yeah.
You certainly feel it as a coach, but it's different than it was when you were strapping an anklet on and shaking hands and doing it yourself. But I hope I never completely lose touch with what it feels like. If I do, I'm not sure I'll be an effective coach.
Gotcha. Now, you were part of some great Oklahoma State teams. Can you tell me a little bit about that college experience and how it shaped you as a coach?
Man, you know what? I think I realized more about what it did for me each and every year. I'm not sure, in 2005 or 6, I mean, we won 4 NCAA tournaments, so the 2 years prior to that, too. I'm not sure I understood the effect that it was going to have on me long term. But I think the more I'm coaching, the more I'm able to kind of get over the pain of not achieving my personal goals and just reflect on the positives that I was able to achieve, we were able to achieve as a group. I realized more and more, the profound effect that had on me from the teammates I was so fortunate to have, and the coaches that, I was fortunate to have, kind of in my life and help mentor and shape me. I can tell you this, I learned what it takes to build a championship program, and I learned just how hard it is.
Yeah.
We were winning, 4 titles in a row. We never had the thought of we're the best team, so we're going to win it. It was always, yeah, we're the best team. People are coming, and we've got to continue to work even harder than we did yesterday to stay on top. I think there was a lot of pride in being the best team and knowing we were the best team, but there was certainly no, it never got to a point where, hey, we're the best, we can relax. It was always we're the best, and we had a coaching staff that wasn't going to let you relax.
Right.
Like they were going to remind you had to push every single day. And so it was a great experience. Made some good friends, and certainly an experience I think it shaped me as a coach and a leader, and maybe in more ways than I realized at the time.
You coached there for how long afterwards?
So I graduated halfway through my senior year, and I rolled straight into graduate school. So I was a grad assistant there, just for a year and a half or so after I got done. Then when I graduated, when I got done with graduate school, actually stepped away from the sport for a couple of years. So I was only, a coach there for a little bit.
So you coached there for a little while, and then you started a D2 program, right?
Yeah, so
from scratch.
I went on sabbatical for a couple of years away from the sport of wrestling. But
what'd you do? Wait, what was your sabbatical about?
Yeah, well, I wasn't sure if I wanted to continue in the sport of wrestling. Up until that point in my life, it had been the major driver of every decision I'd ever made.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, maybe I want to try something else. And I did for a couple of years. I went to work in the oil and gas industry in Oklahoma, and I've traveled around, but I was based out of Oklahoma. But I missed the sport of wrestling. I think I always viewed it as this trivial thing. It was a sport. And I didn't realize, until I got out of it, how lucky I was to be involved in it, how lucky I was to have the people around me, that I had. So in 2010, I was lucky enough to get a head coaching job at a Division II school, Ouachita Baptist, in southwestern Arkansas. And, and started that program from scratch.
Now, did someone seek you out for that? Or were you floating your name back, hey, I'm interested in getting back in the sport?
I didn't think I was going to be able to get back into college wrestling. I was like, I'm no dummy. I wasn't a 3-time national champ. And once you're out of wrestling, it's really hard to get in. So what I did, I went back, and because I had a master's degree, I could pursue alternate certification to be a teacher, a high school teacher in Oklahoma. So I went back and I passed the test to get my alternative certification in like PE and history, I think it was. And so I was looking for high school jobs. And I got offered one assistant high school coaching job that I didn't want. And then I really wanted another high school assistant coaching job, and I thought I could get it. I didn't get it. And if I would have gotten that job, I would still be right there, in a small town in Oklahoma, just probably loving life, and having no idea, the plan that was in store for me. But I didn't get that job, and it wasn't maybe a few weeks after that I got a call from Pat Smith.
Okay.
And Pat said, "Hey, I heard you've been looking for a job in Oklahoma." I said, "Yeah, I haven't found the one that I want yet." He said, "Well, I got it for you." And the rest is history. I was like, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Well, it's a college job, Division II level, and it's at Washita Baptist." And I was like, "Never heard of it." It's in Arkadelphia, Arkansas. So that's not a real place. It can't be. He said, "Listen, this is the real deal." He said, "The people behind this program are the real deal. And why don't you talk to this guy named Greg?" And so I talked to Greg. He's like, "I tell you what, I'm going to send my plane to pick you up in Oklahoma City, and we're going to fly you here." And I say, "What?" and yeah, a few weeks later, I was the head coach at Washita Baptist.
So you create a program from scratch. You guys are all of a sudden, highly ranked. You're doing really well with that program.
Right.
What were the most important things you learned during that job that you took here to Army West Point?
Oh my gosh. I've been fortunate. I think if I didn't take a couple years away from wrestling and work in a true professional environment, I wouldn't have been prepared for that job when I got it. I know for a fact I wouldn't. So I learned lessons, in the corporate world. I learned, and I learned so much. I was a head coach in April 2010. I had just turned 27 years old. So I was a head coach with no head coaching experience at 27 years old. So I made every mistake that you could possibly make. So I learned a lot from those lessons. But I also, looking back on it, I was just maybe naive, maybe dumb, maybe just motivated. And, I never thought we couldn't win there, given all the challenges. I just always believed that we could build something, a really good program. And so I look back on it, I'm like, man, that belief was powerful. And I've always loved to work, so for me, getting up and going to work has never been a problem. I'm happiest when I'm working hardest. So, I reflect on that, and man, how hard I worked there to build that program. That's what you have to continue to do every day. But, I learned this. I learned you can't replace tough athletes. There's no substitute for tough, gritty kids.
Yeah.
And there's no substitute for great parents. Like, by the time you get them, 18 years old, if they haven't had, for the most part, they haven't had some strong influences, coaches, parents, et cetera, in their life, it's hard to make up for that. You can't replace them.
So you're doing really well there. Does Army come and find you?
Crazy story there, too. So I was involved with a couple other jobs, and one head coaching job that I decided I didn't want.
Okay.
Well, just wasn't great for me. I was content where I was. I was like, man, let's finish fourth in the country. We've got these guys coming back. Going to coach some national champions next year, and we can really win the NCAA tournament. So I was content.
Yeah.
Man, it's a crazy story. So when I first moved to Arkadelphia and I was trying to get my bearings, get my feet on the ground, there was an assistant basketball coach that was there. And he was like, "Hey, I got a place you can crash here with me for a little bit." So we become buddies. And after that first year, he takes an assistant coaching job here at West Point.
Oh, no kidding.
Okay. Yeah. And so, fast forward 3 years later, he calls me and he says, "Hey, we're looking for a head wrestling coach." And I was like, "Yeah, Sean, I live in the wrestling world. I've heard, they're looking for somebody." I was like, "But I'm not going to get that job, and I don't think I'm interested, and they're not going to hire somebody like me anyway."
Yeah.
He's like, "Well, I'll tell you what," I said, "I'm just going to mention your name to a guy here." So, all right, sure. And he does, and the guy calls me. Man, as they say, the rest is history, And I told my wife, "You're not going to believe this." It's like, "I'm going to New York to interview." It's like, "Don't worry, we're not moving. They're not going to hire." deep down inside, I was like, God, I hope they get this job. This is the one that I really want.
Right.
And I was fortunate enough; it worked out. So it's hard to believe, but I've been here 6 years, and so long story short, yeah, they reached out to me, and then I would say vigorously, pursued the job. Once I interviewed, I knew I wanted it, and so went through the process, and fortunate enough to end up here.
Can we just rewind to something you said at the start of this? They're not going to hire someone like me.
Yeah, it's how many times do you see someone go from the Division II level to Division I as a head coach?
Yeah, very rarely.
Can you think of any others?
Not without the school having changed classification.
Right.
So
I can't think of others off the top of my head. So, and I'm no dummy. At least that's my thought process. It's like, look, I get it. Moving to Division I level is hard. I had a chance. I didn't do it. I'm probably not going to get another, and I'm cool with that. But so that's that I just kind of knew the landscape of how our sport works. Fortunately, there was an AD here and some people on the search committee that maybe saw past that, and my approach, I told them on the interview too, Mike, I said, listen, I'm coaching a Division II school. If there's any misconceptions about that, there's nothing Division II about me, and about what I want to achieve. I'm going to work just as hard where I'm at as I will at the next place. Like there's no Division II type personality. It's just great. If you're a good coach, you're a good coach. Just in our sport, you don't see that kind of movement as much as you do probably in some other sports.
Yeah, I mean, I can think of more people who have gone from high school to college without the college changing classifications than I can think of from D1 or D2 or D3 to D1.
I'm just really lucky it worked out.
How about that? And basketball and wrestling working out together. Right? You don't hear
I
that
know,
often.
Man, that's my man. Just think, if I never passed him in the gym and been like, hey, what's up, man? I'm new here, and we started a friendship. We're still friends. But small world. A basketball coach, kind of with the hookup.
Right.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
With the assist.
So very motivated. I mean, respected by your peers. Tell me a little bit about your childhood wrestling and your influences, and how you got into the sport and what you liked about the sport that kept you there.
Well, I think like most people who've made a career out of it, I mean, I've just been really lucky and lucky to have really good people in my life. So I started wrestling when I was 5, and I because my older brother wrestled, my dad was a high school wrestler, and the other people on my street, I lived in a neighborhood, so the other kids on my street were wrestling. And as it ends up, my brother was a really good wrestler, placed high in the state. I won a few titles. My next door neighbor was a couple times state champ, and the guy 2 houses down was a couple times state champ. So we grew up like what it ended up being.
Wow,
that was a pretty tough neighborhood.
Yeah.
But no, I remember. I tell this, quite a few times. I went to the Jay Robinson 28-day camp when I was 12 years old, and because I just thought. Summer camp, great. I remember looking like at brochures of like summer camps where kids are going on zip lines and canoeing and stuff, and I was like, summer camp, great, let's find a summer camp, and that was one that my brother wanted to go to, so I went. That experience changed my life because it really redefined for me the definition of hard work and work. I learned at 12 years old, for 28 days in a row, I'm listening to people talk about mental toughness. I don't think I'd ever heard that.
Right.
And I'm listening to people talk about work ethic, and I'm like, man, so when I came back from that camp, what I remember the most is like really enjoying being different. I could tell that I was different.
Yeah.
And that feeling's what hooked me, is that like, man, I can tell that I'm different than other people in 7th grade. And I like that.
Right.
So for me, understanding that I was different and taking pride in being a really hard worker, those things really drove me. So I think as I look back on my, experience wrestling growing up, that's the biggest thing. I could tell I was different, and I liked it.
Right.
And I continue to have really good support. And so coaches and my dad really supported my brother and I and opportunities that we wanted. He found a way to help it, make it happen.
Was your dad a wrestler?
He wrestled in high school.
Okay.
Yeah, he wrestled in high school. And so what, you got to understand about my family is my mother passed away when I was in 3rd grade. Okay. So my brother and I kept wrestling, and my dad, I think, as I look back, he always wanted us to work really hard, but he never forced us to do anything.
Uh-huh.
So I think for him, maybe wrestling was a way for, my brother and I to stay involved, and he could sit back and watch,
Yeah.
without having his hands full, and he could just be a fan. I could imagine him trying to raise me and my brother. We were handfuls. So,
Yeah.
Us wrestling was probably a good way for him to just be able to sit back and just be a fan and watch us do something. He was never the coach. He was never involved. He was never in the corner. He sat in the stands and he filmed. And I think, probably for him, it was a way to just be able to sit back and watch us without, having to constantly separate us from fighting each other all the time.
I was going to ask, so aggressive young men, are there holes in the family house, like from you guys going at it?
So here's a crazy story. I'm not going to tell you why this fight started, because that's even dumber. But I think it was my senior year, my junior year, whatever. The night before the state tournament, my brother and I get in a fight over some stupid stuff, man, like brother stuff. You know? And
breathing. You were breathing wrong.
I got the best of him this time too.
Oh yeah. Okay.
But it just so happened. I mean, he hit me. He got me good too. My lip was so swollen, like it was resting between my top and bottom teeth. Like it was so fat and swollen. And when I hit him back, like I broke my knuckle.
The night.
So,
oh, this is awesome.
I go to school the next morning, and I'm like, Coach Henry, my coach, I'm like, you're not going to believe this, And so my mouth's swollen up, my knuckles all swollen up. I'm like, yeah, so we fought. It's crazy. And Coach Henry will tell the story now. He's like, I kept my cool, but inside I'm thinking, you gotta be freaking kidding me. What are you guys doing? My dad's thinking the same thing, They're trying to be like, oh, it's fine. You're going to be fine. Because the state tournament starts today.
Right.
Yeah, we fought, but like all brothers do.
Yeah. How about today?
We talk pretty much every day now.
Yeah.
We rarely fight and argue now. We're really close, but we're 18 months apart. So I mean, you can imagine you grow up. You got brothers that wrestle that are that close in age.
Yeah.
It's inevitably going to wrestle at home, but no, we're still really close.
So you've been doing this sport since you were 5.
Yeah.
How do you keep your competitive fire burning inside of you?
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm 36 now, so 31 years I've been involved in the sport at some level.
Yeah.
Like I said, for me, I'm happiest when I'm working hardest. So listen, we finished last year 22nd or 3rd in the country in the dual meet rankings. So that's a long way from first. So it's pretty easy to stay competitive when you want to win. But the biggest thing for me that fires me up is just understanding that it's not about me wanting to be, a successful coach. It's about wanting to build a successful program. And to do that, you have to help individuals be successful. So that's what drives me, is helping the guys on my team give them the best opportunities to reach their goals. So I want to win. I don't like to lose. I've won, fun dual meets, and I've lost them. And yeah, it feels good to win. It sucks to lose. But I think the most important thing is that we keep perspective that it's about helping the guys on our team reach their goals. And if that doesn't fire you up, you're in the wrong business.
Yeah. What do you consider your biggest accomplishment in wrestling?
In wrestling?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I mean, I guess that's in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah, so you.
Yeah, okay. So from the outside perspective, there may be, some people look at some certain things. But for me, I mean, I'm extremely proud of what we built at Ouachita Baptist from scratch. I'm extremely proud of the types of the kids we were able to recruit there and seeing what they're doing, now. So now, I get wedding invitations, I get birth announcements, I'm to that point in coaching,
Yeah.
So that's super rewarding to me to see that, these guys at least thought enough of me to let me know what's going on in their life still, when they're getting married, having kids, and seeing that, and I'm at that point. I mean, it's pretty. So this morning we're doing this interview on September 11th,
Yep.
And so this morning I went to a ceremony here at West Point, and what a reminder of the type of guys that I get to coach here. So I get to play a small part in impacting the lives of people who are going to go on and do some pretty incredible things. So more than the wins, more than tournament placements or whatever, the most rewarding thing for me is knowing that you get to really, hopefully, a positive impact on some pretty special people.
Nice. Who, if you had to pick a few, who are your biggest mentors that have gotten you to this spot in coaching?
Yeah, so I've been pretty lucky, and some of them were informal mentors, some of them were my peers, that I just call and maybe ask advice for. But my time at Oklahoma State really shaped my experience, or really probably shaped my perspective on what it takes to be successful. Coach Smith and I, we rarely talk. He's busy. He's got a large family and a program to run. So it's not like that's a mentor that I call, on a weekly basis. But I can look back and say, man, Coach Smith really made an impact on my definition of what it takes to be successful. And I'm fortunate enough to have a good staff, that I can lean on them and get their thoughts. And I have other, people that coached me and teammates of mine that are in the coaching world now as well, so that I can call on. But, for me, I'm a guy that I'd like to think I'm on, constantly trying to learn and better myself and seeking out, really good mentors. So I've been fortunate to have a lot of those.
Gotcha. Tell us a little bit about the wrestling program at West Point. What is the support that West Point gives? What's the awareness of the program amongst the rest of the students?
Yeah. So, I can't complain at all about the support that we have. And I think we're one of the most well-supported programs in the country. Matter of fact, I know it. And, from a budget standpoint, facility standpoint, I travel the country and I can see how fortunate we are to have what we do. And we're continuing to get more. And so that's positive. The wrestling team, what we call our student body is the core cadets. And they have a really strong reputation among the core because they're a bunch of good guys. They're tough guys, and they're good people. So the support that we've experienced here, man, let me tell you. So we had a dual meet last year, against our rival, and
Navy.
We come out the winning end, and that feels good. And we're not even done shaking the other team's hands yet. And our superintendent is on the mat, like going nuts. Yeah. And our superintendent, this isn't like a normal school president. Our superintendent is a 3-star general who's been in charge of tens of thousands of soldiers at any given time. And he's out there on the wrestling mat, supporting, a wrestling team of 50 individuals, in competition. You're just not going to see that at very many places, if any. So if that's not the perfect example, there's a picture, you can't see it, but I keep it in my office of my first season. We beat Navy at the dual meet here at home. And there's a picture of our athletic director and our superintendent standing next to each other. And you can't tell who's more excited, But, so you have these guys. That's the level of support that I feel, is they respect what we do and how we do it. And they hold us to a high standard. Just because they like our program doesn't mean that, they're going to lower the standards for us. But, we respect that. There's a lot of support here. It fits. You're wrestling at West Point.
Yeah.
That's a natural fit. You want tough guys, you want good people, and it's a natural fit. So I think for those reasons, we feel a lot of support.
I'm going to skip ahead since you brought up the Navy rivalry. This is going to be my last couple of questions, but tell me, so you beat Navy for the first time in several years, right, as a coach?
So my first season here, it's been 17 years since we were on the winning side, yeah.
And with now, I've gotten the response from, the school. Is beating Navy almost more important than like as a school, not for you, but like as your supervisors, more important than winning the EIWAs? Is it?
You'd have to ask them. What I can tell you is it's extremely important.
Yeah.
To a lot of people, and it's important because it's meaningful.
Yeah.
It's a rivalry that's celebrated between institutions. It's not like, so when I was in college, there wasn't an Oklahoma State, Iowa institutional rivalry. Right. It was a wrestling rivalry. Mm-hmm. It wasn't Oklahoma State and University of Minnesota didn't hate each other.
Right.
The wrestling teams wanted to beat each other.
Yeah.
But we were fortunate enough to be at West Point. Every sport, the school has a rival. the school itself. There's
Yeah.
not many places like that. Then there's no rivalry like this one.
Right.
So for that reason, it's really important, and you have to embrace it. And there's people literally around the globe that are watching that match. People are going to be watching that match from halfway around the world,
Yeah.
and they care about the result. So that's pretty fun to be a part of.
Totally. All right. Tell us a little bit about your style as a head coach. Are you hands-on everything? Are you CEO? I mean, what's Kevin Ward as a head coach?
So the CEO thing, I mean, CEOs get to hire and fire people at will. I think that phrase gets thrown around a little bit too much in college wrestling. We can't hire and fire people at will.
Okay.
We have a staff of, I have 3 assistant coaches. Theoretically, I could hire and fire them, but you can't have a revolving door.
Yeah.
I would say I'm really hands-on. I like to be involved, and but at the same time, I like to give people the freedom and the trust to be able to make their own decisions. But you got to remember where I learned how to run a program. And John Smith ran every single practice every single day.
Yeah.
Unless he was on the road recruiting or he was out of town and he was running practice. I probably loosened up maybe a little bit from 10 years ago when I started, but not a whole lot. I'm super involved, and but I've also learned how to trust the coaches around me maybe a little bit more, and let them do their thing. So I would say my style as a coach is I rarely like to tell people what to do. Sometimes that comes along with the job. It's part of the title, and you have to do it. You have to tell people what you want, and you have to tell them what to do. I view my job as, helping my wrestlers. I show them what I think is the best way. I tell them what I think is going to be the best for them, and I give them my opinion. Sometimes I have to tell them what they're going to do. Most of the time, I like to just tell them what I think is going to be best for them, what I think is going to help them be able to reach their potential the way that they say they want to do. And let them make their decisions. Now, if they're doing something that I think doesn't reflect what they say they want to do, it's my job to step in and tell them, hey, you're messed up, man. Like, you're really screwed up right now. You say you want to do this, but you're not doing X, Y, and Z. So I try to motivate. I try to lead from the front and show the way and help other people make their best decisions for themselves.
Last question I have. I'll try to be delicate about it, but let's just say you were not the best guy on the Oklahoma State team, right? You're surrounded by studs, and I'm just curious: does that ever drive you? Maybe.
No, look, man. I was the best 157 pounder for 2 years on that team. And another year, me and Johnny Hendricks were back and forth in the lineup, and he had the spot at the end of the year. He ended up being pretty freaking good.
Yeah.
So no, I think I'm at a point in my life now I can look back and say, hey, look, I'm from Saudi Daisy, Tennessee, and I wrestled at the NCAA tournament twice. I made I was a 2.5-year starter at Oklahoma State. That was never my goal, but I can understand that's a pretty dang good accomplishment. I was a member of 4 NCAA championship teams, but personally, does it drive me that I wasn't as good, as I was on one team with 5 NCAA champions.
That's insane.
It's insane. Do I think about it every day? Man, I wish I was as good as Chris Pendleton or Jake Rochelle. I wish I was that good, but it's not something that I think, man, I've got a lot to prove because I wasn't Jake Rochelle. I've got a lot to prove because I wasn't Steve Mocco.
Yeah.
I've got a lot to prove because I've got a room of 50 people that want to be NCAA champions.
Nice.
And no one's going to give a shit, for me, whether I was a great wrestler in college or not, if I can't help them reach their goals.
I'll get you out of here on this one. Where do you see yourself in 20 years?
I'm going to hopefully live in that same house right up the road here at West Point.
Yeah.
And holy smokes, you get asked this question a lot. Hey, are you going to be here? Because, in the recruiting world, it's fair to ask that question.
Yeah.
I see that our program is nowhere near our potential right now. I also understand the closer you get, the harder it is.
Yep.
And so I'm focused on doing what I can day to day here. Man, I got a growing family. I've got a 4, a 2, and a 1-year-old, and there's no greater place in the world to raise a family than right here in West Point, America. So I don't see myself anywhere else. I put my head down and go to work every day and try to build the best program that we can here.
I lied. Tell me a little bit about wrestling as you get older as a coach. Does it feel any different to you? Just physically, mentally, emotionally in the practice room?
Physically, heck yeah, man, it feels a lot different. So I'm fortunate now. I can just kind of call people out and then maybe go one takedown if I want to. Some
After
days I feel really good.
after they're good and tired from a practice?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I tell everybody. I told the team the other day. I said I'll challenge anybody in this room that's certified at 133 or below to one takedown right now.
What you walk around weight? What 70?
Anybody. I walk around at like 140. Something like
Okay.
that. No.
No,
No.
dude.
Not,
What are
not even
you?
close. I walk at like 175, 180
Okay.
pounds.
All right.
Yeah. No, I mean physically, yes, it's different.
Yeah.
Emotionally, I don't know. I mean, I love what I do, so I mean, I think it's more fun. I think each and every year, I would say, like slowly learning to appreciate it maybe a little bit more.
Yeah.
But hopefully not too much. I don't want to sit back and appreciate what I'm doing. I want to go to work and keep getting better. So, listen, you can't. And I tell people that you're going to always be a wrestler. If you're a wrestler, you're always going to call yourself a wrestler. But you can't wrestle forever. Your
Yeah.
body just do it. So for me, and I'm pretty lucky to be able to stay involved in the sport and watch some really good wrestling every single day in my room without having to go out there and. I'll be honest, being able to get up in the morning and your back not hurt feels pretty good.
Especially when you have kids who don't care why your back might be sore.
They don't care. They're going to jump on you anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Exactly.
so it's a little bit different, but man, it's a lot of fun.
Well, Coach, I'm looking forward to catching your team this year in action, and good luck. Good talk, too.
Mike, I appreciate it.
Yeah.